Evening, everyone, and welcome to the Boys from the Baltic Star. It is week 2 of our Twitch streaming adventures. I'm Luke, Ewan's the one with the beard, and Ben's the one with the beard. And he's also our referee, and he's in a very kind mood. I can see it in his eyes. He was quite chipper a few minutes ago, so I can only see good things happening to us today. That's good. If you haven't ever seen our Twitter before, I've now put it in the bottom left-hand corner. So we are at Boys Baltic. I've chosen a terrible font for trying to get information across. I went for graphic design over use. But we're at Boys Baltic. We're around for a couple of hours. Please stay around, grab a drink. We have a toilet break halfway through, so save it up till then. And over to our Lord and Master. You know you love it when I tell you that.
Yeah, but I can't pay you in cash anymore. It's weird. So, on Ossin, the travellers seem to have attracted some unwelcome, not to say violent, attention from a mercenary group called Black Sun. They also made a contact, a man called Sever, who works for the Riftsman's Guild, and who joined Agnar and Soraya, two of our travellers, in an assault on a facility that had been borrowed by Black Sun in orbit. The attack went well, but the leader of the mercenaries escaped. Sever seemed to recognise him, but wasn't keen on explaining how they knew each other. On returning to the Ossin downport, they met a woman who identified herself as Officer Pramus and wanted the travellers to gather information for her at their next stop, the Geeka system. They agreed, and without further ado, she left them standing in an observation room at the downport. And that is where we resume the story. So, Soraya and Agnar are literally standing in an observation room, looking out over the vacuum downport and the ships and the twinkling lights and all the happiness that implies. So, what do you want to do?
Firstly, how long have we got, do you reckon, until the Baltic Star is fully refueled? What's our timeline on that?
It will be fully refueled in less than a day, but then it's got to get back to you. So it'll be. That's right. All of these ships that can cheerfully leap from system to system, slow is what they are. Yes. Yeah. So essentially, because of that, it'll be best part of 3 days. Think in terms of like 3 nights, 2 days.
Okay. And we can't just drink for all of that. That'd just be a waste of time. Maybe.
Not a waste.
There's definitely the option there.
Do we go and find our other two and meet up again, and then I guess work out what we do? We could find out who this woman was, Pramus. I don't know. We could hunt down Sever again. What do you reckon? We've got options.
7 might be worth the chat. Once we've stopped staring out wistfully into space from the observation area. Yeah.
Shall we burst out with desire to get on and look around for Sever then?
Yeah. Do you want to grab the others first and catch them up with?
Yeah,
what
sounds
the
good.
Deal is.
Yeah.
Or not. I find either way.
So I will ping a message through to Kara. I'm guessing Kara and Stefan were together. Are they? Hello. Kara.
Yeah.
Hello there.
Yes. Yes. Kara and Stefan are indeed together.
Not in that way for any of the people watching at home.
Not in that way, no.
Not yet. So I guess it's an observatory. So can we? How far away are they? How long would it take them to get to us?
They are essentially 10 to 15 minutes away, that kind of distance.
Okay, then let's get them over. Let's observe the beautiful man-made rings of the planet while they head over to join us.
Okay. The term beautiful is perhaps a bit of a stretch. They are, after all, rings made of floating junk. But nonetheless, sure. Beautiful. Why not? Let's call it that.
It's in the eye of the beholder.
While we're sort of waiting, one of us has contact information for Sever, don't they? I believe.
Yes.
Dude, that was
Do we want to just be open about everything, or do we want to try and find him on the?
We could drop him a message. Try and call him.
Yeah, we could drop him a message, find out where he is. Drink again, I suppose. Offer him a. I'm sure we've done that before. Offer him see if he wants to join us for a drink.
Yeah, survival agree. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Get in touch with him. Lead the way, Agnar, with your silky words.
Oh, me?
Yeah, man. He's a smooth. He's a smoothie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Agnar. I guess via Soraya.
Yeah. She'll hand him.
We'll,
Give him a call. Sarai will hand him earpiece and say, "It's ringing." I don't know if he's gonna pick up, but it's ringing. I get so confused with the technology levels.
Okay.
Rotary dials.
After just a few seconds, Sever does indeed connect, and he says, "Hey."
Probably not who you're expecting to talk to. Is what Agnar will probably lead with.
Oh, Agnar.
Oh, that's not what you want to hear.
I get that a lot. Yeah, thanks for the help. I mean, I guess the mutual help up there. You up to much? Bar?
I'm heading over to medical to check in, but
Yeah.
but I can be free after that. You got something interesting?
I mean, honestly, I don't think we do at the minute. Just celebrate what went on up there. We might have a question about the person we saw up there who got away, just to try and tie up any loose ends we may have. But
all right, yeah,
let's go.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll meet you in the bar in 36 in an hour.
Sounds good. Agnar will sort of just nod on to Soraya and just say, yeah, I think we're okay.
Sure.
Exactly.
You did well.
That conversation without having a conversation while you're on the phone with someone. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Yep, that's fine. You have an appointment with Sever.
Wonderful.
Lovely.
And then I guess we're just waiting for everyone else, and we'll catch the other two up when they get here.
Yeah. Turn up.
Perfect.
Okay. So it is indeed not that many minutes later when you see Stefan and Kara turn up in the observation room. It only has one door, but the other side of it are a couple of windows looking out over the pad.
Okay, that makes sense. As soon as they get in, I guess Sarai will go to Kara and she'll say, "Look, this lady's came up to us and gave us some information. Using your computer and that, could you see if there's any information about her that we could find out? Any info, any dirt, any anything really, from the basic to the downright dirty?"
Sure. She's got a portable computer with her, hasn't she?
Yeah, and she started running it through that AI so it can sort of set something going so we can walk on, so it won't delay us on our walkthrough. So
yeah, she has an agent program, doesn't she?
Yeah, so if she could enter through the agent, and then we can start walking to the bar, I guess.
All right. Make an intellect computer check for me.
Oh, my favourite kind of check. He says it's about to go wrong. They're sweaty, so that's good. It's a good start. Oh god. It's
Clearly the way to
With
go.
their warmth or not.
intellect plus 2, computers plus 1, so that's 3, which is 6 plus 3 is 9. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're searching for Officer Pramus?
Yes, please. I think that's all we know about it. That ship in orbit, which we don't know what it is either. But could she do that and also check up on the ship? Any details on the ship, I guess.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, you can do that.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. The ship in orbit actually turns out to be so fast you don't even get to flick the machine off.
Oh,
it's
nice.
the Italia.
Ah, Italia. Nice. And it's military, isn't it?
Yes, it is a large carrier, basically. A very substantial vessel, not by any means of the very latest type. It's the best part of 50 years old, but it is yes, but it is a substantial vessel by any measure.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, that's good. And I guess the Pramus check is left bubbling away in the background, I guess.
Yep.
Just because we're sort of, I think we established before that none of us had heard the name before, or certainly the two that Matt hadn't. I'm guessing the other guys hadn't as well.
They're not in my notes and not in my backstory, I don't think.
No, none of you have encountered Pramus before.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, cool. Well then, are we happy to head over? I guess again, Sarah, I'll say right. We've got a meeting with Sever, our lovable friend. He's not the most talkative, but it's nice to catch up with old friends from time to time. So they'll start the walk to the bar. I guess if we get there early, we'll get the first round in.
Yeah,
it's nice to have one ready.
Sounds sensible.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, in order to get there, the distance you're effectively covering is, as is a lot of the case with a city as densely populated as this, everything's kind of between 15 minutes and half an hour away. And sure enough, this is as well. It's over quite near to the medical centre, which is itself not all that far away from your hotel. So you're probably 10 minutes from both of those.
Oh, nice.
When you arrive...
Helpful for drinking too much.
There's a too much to drink? What do you mean?
That's what they say.
I don't know who these people are, but they need to be stopped.
Yeah, it's not what we say, is it?
Not really. So as you approach, it looks like a pretty functional building with a sort of fairly square front, a double door going in and a window on each side of it. And the double door leads into a sort of short hallway, which ends in another double door. And when you get inside there, you get to a fairly spacious bar filled with tables and chairs and a big actual serving bar across the front.
Nice. Does it have screens at all? Do they have any screens showing anything? Like, is it anything? Is there anything showing of interest that we can see as we go in?
No, like most places in this era, unless it's sort of a dedicated sports or entertainment venue, what you tend to find is that people bring their own entertainment if they want it. They will have personal communication devices. That would be where you'd expect to find entertainment. You wouldn't routinely find big screens up anywhere.
Okay. That's cool. Feeling very generous for once. Kara's going to go and buy the first round, which is a bit unlike her because she's normally skint. But she's got a bit of money at the minute, so she thought, why not? She'll just have a beer. Sarah just have a beer. You two. Oh no, Agnar's got expensive tastes.
Yeah, Agnar will probably go for something a bit stronger. Something on the whiskey front, and then Stefan's not picky.
Good old Stefan. Is Stefan drinking?
Especially as Yeah, especially as luckily you caught him just about to ask whose round it was.
Ah,
Rather fittingly.
I did notice he delayed it just half a second though.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
classic approach.
Don't like, this is you and not liking to butt in on Luke. You know, he's got some important role play like buying around coming up.
There's a lot of buying round sort of ethic about it all. You know, you've got to be careful.
Next time I get him.
Right, so I will drop 50 credits behind the bar for the round. I'm guessing that's more than is needed, but she'll say, keep the change. Can you just give us a whistle if you think we should look up for my drinks? Makes sense.
Sure.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Um,
And worth it at that amount of credits.
But I want a tune, not just a whistle. I want some Beethoven for that.
all right. Okay. Yeah. No problem at all. The man serving behind the bar sort of throws an expansive arm across, indicating you can settle down and sit wherever you like in the room.
Cool. Have we got, I guess we got options. Yeah, we got bar. We've got a table variety.
Yeah, essentially the main bar is kind of horseshoe shaped,
Okay.
wrapped around the actual serving bar, the counter, and there are tables and chairs scattered throughout. So you can stay effectively at the front by the door, or you can slip down either side. There are spaces everywhere.
Should we drop away a bit from the door? We've still got them dudes trying to follow us, haven't we? So
Somewhere one of us can see the door, I guess.
yeah. Should we drop down on the sides?
At least one of us.
Yeah. Can we drop down the horseshoe sort of just enough so that people sitting on either side of the table can still just about see the entrance? So we're not just relying on one person, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. That's about halfway down one of the sides.
Brilliant.
And there is a suitable table on each side that's available.
Either or is good for me. Cool. Let's go plop ourselves down.
All right. So it's not much more than half an hour later. You're basically onto your second round, I guess.
Sure. I'm drinking slowly tonight then.
Yeah, very slowly. Well, you got business ahead, you know.
That is true.
When Sever pushes his way in through the front, glances left and right to see if you've arrived, spots you, and walks over. Glances at the fact you're already, halfway down or 3/4 of the way down your second round, and plonks down, saying, "Whose round is it?"
Cara looks over to Stefan. Said, "Wasn't it your round?"
Yeah, Stefan sort of just he'll jump up quite sprightly and go, "Yeah, what are you having?"
Ale.
Any ale? I don't know if there's Stefan would know if there was a choice.
What they have. they make a local ale actually in the back of the pub. So
nice. Love it. Yeah, he'll go up, he'll get one for Sever, he'll actually before he goes up, he'll look around the table and get the nods from the rest of the crew, I guess, and get around it.
Good man.
Okay. All right. So after the drinks are provided and everyone's blown the top off a couple of them, Sever seems to let out a bit of a breath, and he says, "So, bit of excitement today."
Agnar will it's I suppose no more than our usual, hey? And look around the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Cara will say, "Well, yeah, I got 3 coins in a glass in a row while you guys were up in space. Quite exciting work."
Yeah. I guess you two aren't much for the rough stuff then?
Cara says, "I prefer to solve problems over a drink."
Well, so does everyone.
Yeah, it's just that I don't have the skills to back it up if the drink gets pushed aside.
I'm with you. Yeah, yeah. He turns to Stefan and says, "And you're just as useless."
I'm more the. I prefer solving problems when the other person can't see me or doesn't know there's a problem, I suppose.
Again, I've been pretty practiced at this kind of thing for a lot of my life, and I can tell you that's the ideal way to resolve problems with violence.
Yeah, I mean that, and I mean what you see is what you get. I kind of don't have anything that requires me doing it in a zero oxygen environment.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. It's a bit out there, isn't it?
The vacuum of space.
I don't think it goes on a bit.
It does. Yeah. I used to work up there, you know.
Oh, what did you do?
Same as everyone else. Find a big lump of ship, cut it into smaller lumps of ship, push it down a hole. Keep doing that over and over and over again, and eventually they give you money.
Living the dream.
Agnar will say, is that where you know your friend up there from?
Roll a carouse check for me with social.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, why are you talking? We shouldn't let you talk to anyone.
Well, the social's great.
Yeah, the social's great.
I mean, you can go for persuade if you prefer.
Yeah, he'll go for persuade, although it's exactly the same at -3.
Okay.
Oh.
But +2 from social, so it's just a -1, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So it's -1 total.
Which is an 8 -1.
Oh.
Okay.
To a 7.
The traveller dead number.
He
Yeah.
basically just clams up, looks down at his drink. No response about what you asked him.
Kara's going to grab her personal device, and she's going to say, "Server, can I ask you something, please?"
Sure.
She's going to hold it up in front of his face and says, "How does this make you feel?" It's going to be a picture of that carving from the planet we were at a few weeks ago in game, I guess. You know the carvings.
Yep.
Yes.
The carvings.
The carvings. The actual carvings.
The carvings.
The carvings at
Yeah.
carving. Yeah. The creepy carvings.
He looks at it and he goes, "How's it supposed to make me feel?"
I don't know. Angry, scared, sexy, nervous. Any of those things?
All of the feelings.
All of the feelings.
Sort of bored.
Ah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Thank you for your time.
But bored, do you know what it says? Stefan sort of relates, I guess. Stefan's quite interested in the carvings.
Oh yeah, well, just don't look at them though. Goodness
Yeah,
sake.
exactly. He'll avert his gaze while he's saying it.
Oh, I didn't know it said anything. I thought it was like art.
Beautiful art.
Yeah, Stefan will sort of say, well, I mean, you know, anything that says anything is art, and he'll look to the philosophy person down the bar. Down the table.
Down the table. Cara will say, "Yes, I've taught you well." So how is your boy doing in hospital?
Yeah, he's recovering. He'll be out in a few days.
Not had any more problems from. I've got to look up my notes. What's their names? The Black Sun?
No, none at all. No, in fact, since he encountered you load of hooligans, nobody's tried to hurt him at all.
But we've learned from our experiences. You caught us at a very awkward time in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So you're staying quiet on Falco, which is fine. It's your past. What do you know about Pramus, the lady who suddenly appeared earlier? You clearly know her, the way you responded to her, the way you made quick your exit.
Oh.
Roll a persuade with social.
Can Agnar chip in and just say, by the way, I mean, she kind of knows that we know you know her, but we tried to play it off on the, that little look you gave when she gave you an order.
All right. Yeah.
Let's unsmooth things and just help out.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. I've got a persuade 2 and a social 1. Yes.
Nice.
I know. She can't shoot over a drink. Again, 6 plus 3 is 9.
Okay. He says, this bar, let me show you something. Neat thing about it. And he gets up and walks sort of almost back towards the front door, but not directly towards it, instead towards a fairly small door that leads back in the same direction as the front door, but is to the side of it in the wall. And he pushes through it and just keeps going.
Oh, the coward.
Did he take his drink with him?
Yeah.
He said, let me show you something. We better get up and follow then.
Yeah.
Let's chug.
Agnar will grab his drink and follow.
Yeah.
Stefan will hang back a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kara will shoot after as well, but Soraya's happy to lurk for a little while.
Right. Okay. The you walk in and you find Sarah standing in the middle of what is effectively a fairly small room. The only door is the one you've just come through. It's a room that runs down the side of that sort of entrance passageway between the two pairs of double doors that led into the pub to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad space, just a couple of tables, a couple of windows looking out over the main concourse. But it is decidedly a smaller room and a bit more private, except for the fact that there are two people, a man and a woman, sitting at one of the tables having a drink. And as you walk in, Sever has just walked over to them, not particularly threateningly, and he says, hi there, I've been asked to tell you your table is ready. And they look up and say, what? He says, your table is ready, out in the main bar. And there's a sort of brief pause, and then the guy kind of gets it, looks Sever up and down, and says, fine, thank you for letting us know. Our table is ready, honey. The two of them get up and scurry out. and then Sever sits down at their table and puts his back against the wall and waits for you guys to join.
I guess when Stefan sees them leave and doesn't see anybody, like shadily follow them in to that room, he will join.
If you want to check to see if someone's shadily following,
or observe, anything to that ilk.
Anything to that ilk. Okay. So you're interested in whether someone is trying to overhear or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay, you can pick recon or streetwise for that, whichever you prefer.
Wonderful.
With intellect.
He will go with streetwise. And his mighty intellect of 0.
Wow, that is a mighty intellect.
That is an 8 plus 2 streetwise.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You don't notice anything that would give you alarm in terms of somebody watching. In fact, if anything, Sever seems to be known in this bar, and people are quite actively trying to not pay attention to what he's doing. It's sort of comical.
It's like he chose this bar for a reason, I guess.
Yeah, they appear to be deliberately not looking in his direction and anywhere but where he's going and what he's doing. They're paying no attention to anyone he was drinking with. They are studiously ignoring that side of the pub that you're on.
Wonderful. Stefan will... Was it Kara who stayed behind with him?
Soraya stayed behind.
Soraya stayed, yeah.
He'll say to Soraya, I think we're okay here. Shall we join them or not?
Soraya, so yeah, you can. I'll find a table closer to the door so that I can. The barman clearly didn't whistle when a big beefy boy came through the door towards us. So maybe I should stay here and just keep an eye out. But
all right.
But Stefan's a bit of a better sort of talker in those situations, so Soraya's happy to wait outside.
All right. There is in fact a table right by the door into the private room.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay. All right. So Soraya is staying in the main bar, and the other three are following Sever into the private room. Okay. Yeah. Once you guys are all in and you've all found seats, Sever says, "Okay. So I knew I blew my cover, and I shouldn't have, obviously. And I know she's probably going to shout at me, possibly dock me some pay. But the simple truth is she doesn't really give a shit about me. She doesn't really give a shit about anybody on this planet. She's an Imperial, you know? But not just any Imperial. She's like the Uber Imperial. And she wants this place under Imperial control. And if she lands Marines here, then there's going to be trouble. And if there's trouble, people are going to get hurt, people I care about. So I'd really like to keep her sweet enough that she doesn't send the Marines. And in this case, I guess that means whatever she wants, I'd very much like you to do."
What sort of thing does she normally ask people to do?
Well, for me, it's usually just a bit of up-to-date information, really. You know, I've got contacts inside the guild, so I let her know what's going on.
Can Agnar chip in and say, is it likely she'd know if you gave her that information? If she gave you a job and you didn't necessarily tell her the truth, or certainly didn't tell her the whole truth, shall we say?
Well,
just so we know where we stand on not getting you in trouble, obviously, because we don't want.
I certainly wouldn't try anything like that, because I strongly suspect she's got eyes and ears everywhere, and if what you tell her doesn't match up with what someone else says, then one of you's going to be for the high jump.
Is it likely that when we've left the planet, she's going to ask you about your dealings with us?
Yeah.
And you tell her everything?
I'd have to have a really good reason not to.
What how good would the reason need to be?
I can't think of anything. Nothing that would make me lie to her, hide something from her.
There's no work that we could do for you, no dirty work, no sorting a problem out, making something disappear, making your life 100 times better, that might help you to be rough around the edges with your report back.
You've been on Ossin, what, 3 or 4 days?
Oh, it's felt like a lifetime. I've enjoyed every minute. Enjoyed every minute. I'd spend my life here if I could.
Yeah, I can see that about you. This is, for all of its faults, my home. I've lived here for 30 years. Everyone I consider important is here. Everything that is my life is here. I'm not going to jeopardize that.
That's fair play. Yeah, there's some honour hidden deep within your burly frame, and that's to be respected, I feel.
Pretty well hidden, I think.
I think so, but it's a big frame. A lot of places to hide.
There is that.
Just quickly out of game here. We very much got the impression last week that she knows that we have the mega credits of their money sat there, right?
She certainly gave that impression.
Okay.
But when she gave you that impression, he wasn't in the room.
That is true.
Yeah. Perfect.
It might be part of her. It might be part of her game that he's not privy to. Like she deems him not to know.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know whether. And again, sorry, just quickly out of game. I don't know whether we want to. Do we want to tell him that? Do we want to make sure he's got all the information so he doesn't look like an idiot, or is she likely to tell him that?
He doesn't need to know. He wasn't there when you robbed it, and we've not spoken about it in front of him. You know, we had our big long debate the other night about what we should spend it on when he wasn't there. So
yeah. Okay, cool. That's fine. As long as we're both on the same page.
Technically, he was there when you robbed it. He just didn't notice.
That's because you're such a good thief. It's like you were rubbing it in his nose earlier when you were talking about it.
An exceptional thief, yes.
You stole a big ship, if I remember correctly.
Yes, on one occasion you did steal a ship. Arguably on 2 occasions, actually.
Halcyon days.
Yeah.
Just yeah, that old thing.
You know.
That old
I think
thing.
the first was by far the most impressive from what I remember of character creation.
It was.
Okay, that's fine. Just sorry, so I knew where we were with that.
Yep.
We're off in 2 days, and we're heading over to that beautiful world of Geeka. We might go see some animals in the animal sanctuary, meet a few of Agnar's descendants, cuddle a few bears, you know, the usual sort of thing people do. Hug a tree or two.
People tell me it's great.
It is.
We have it's amazing.
And, you know, we'd be happy to pay for, as an aside, we'd be happy to pay for a ticket for you if you did want to go at some time. As a nice holiday for you, away from the grind of everyday life. We could buy 2, so you could take your mate. But the main thing is we're here for 2 days and 3 nights apparently, and we are at a loose end. Is there anyone that you know that could use our help over that time? Yeah. As long as it doesn't involve cleaning glasses. I drop more than I clean.
Right.
My dex is very average. And I can only carry 2 at once because my strength's are 4.
Yeah. He thinks about it for a second, and then he says, well, There's always work here, but I'm not sure it's the kind of work you'd like.
Well, we have standards.
Working on
minimal standards.
Yeah, minimal standards. Yeah,
They are standards.
working on the grid in orbit, they're always looking for bodies, but yeah, plenty of them come back bodies. It's insanely dangerous work, and that's assuming you're with a good crew and your equipment's good and you take care, and none of those are always true. There are other jobs that people do around here, of course, but I don't know of any work that would suit you guys. If I were you, I'd be more worried about Geeker. I might seriously be thinking about whether or not to go somewhere else. Anywhere else.
You mean just not get involved, Agnar? So.
Well, we've walked through the fire together a bit.
Oh, that we have.
Just let me put it this way. I'm guessing people like you make enemies everywhere.
What gave you that impression?
Every single second I've spent with you.
He knows us too well.
I know, we've only known him a couple of days.
How long does it usually take people to get to dislike you?
They're normally
normally
dead within a couple of hours.
Oh yeah, exactly. Either we're normally gone or they're normally gone, one way or the other.
The simple fact is, Geeker is somewhere I would probably not want to visit if I were you. There are plenty of other worlds around,
There are.
Go to one of those.
And if we do end up on Geeker, who are the types that we shouldn't make enemies with, notably?
I'm not worried about you making enemies on Geeker. I'm worried about the fact that Geeker is where some of your enemies already are.
I see.
Sever, my old buddy, my old pal. Have you ever in your life had dealings with a corporation called Deep Night? Prima seems negative about them. She brought them up in conversation, which was surprising. So I just wondered if that meant anything to you.
Doesn't ring a bell. What do they do?
I don't know. Apparently they're a big corporation. We did the search on them, and I think it's to do with, I don't know what it was now. It was like a whole range of things. It was mercenaries, it was tech. It was the usual sort of corporation trying to take hold of 5 or 6 different things, if that makes sense. I think they fund exploration and forces farther afield as well. So I just wondered whether they'd ever come past your way, or if Pramus has got it sewn up around here, really.
I don't recall Deep Night at all. But then my life's here, and you're into exploration, you say?
Oh, yes.
Everything you see around here, including this bar, has already been explored. All of it.
No.
So actually, exploration sounds good to me. You guys should definitely get into exploration. Long distance, far, far away.
Anywhere you'd recommend?
Not Geeker.
Okay. Well, Agnar will say, well, we're very thankful for your frankness, and what we can only assume to be looking out for our well-being. Should we talk about this later between us, I guess, unless there's any more information that you want to give us. And
I do have a question for you. Now, bear in mind, I think it would be a terrible, terrible idea for you to go to Geeker.
You've brought that up.
Okay. I just didn't want there to be any doubt.
You were subtle.
Imagine, for the sake of argument, however, that for whatever reason, I don't know what would make you do so, but for whatever reason, you were thinking you might go to Geeker. Looks like I'm going to be heading in that direction. So, if, very much against my advice, you were going towards Geeker, maybe you could find space for me?
I'm assuming you know by now. You had probably found out within an hour of us landing and hurting our first person, accidentally, probably knowing us. What ship we were on? what ship we were on? How big it is and where it is. And you know that it is a ship with a number of rooms, and only one of them is haunted. And it has a bar. It's well stocked. It has a crew. It's a friendly place full of friendly people. And I think room could be found. I think our biggest concern would be a worry that everything that we said on that ship would make it back to someone else.
I understand. That's a very, very serious concern.
I think I'd say we'd probably be willing to offer you, if we were to go to Geek against your advice and make a tremendous mistake. I feel that we could offer you a space to spend that week within, but you would understand our nervousness of giving you too much free range at this time in our blossoming friendship.
What do you have in mind?
Well, and I hope my shipmates agree with me. We have the room. They're double rooms, I believe. They can fit two in at the very least. They're not magnificent, but they're of a decent size. We could offer you that room. We could offer you a menu from which you could order food and drink. And we would offer you the number of one of our crew who could bring you whatever supplies you wanted. We could provide you with entertainment systems. We could provide you with anything to make your week comfortable within that cabin. And we could offer you our ear of an evening, for a couple of hours an evening or something, where you could come and join us for a couple of drinks and just relax if that was interesting towards you. If we were to make that terrible mistake of going to Geeker.
Sure. I mean, if I were to spend a week confined to a cabin, you would understand I wasn't expecting to pay for such a passage.
Your company is payment enough.
Yeah. All right. So when will you decide whether or not you are disregarding my advice and going to Geeka?
I believe it's 1.5 days and 3 nights. How quickly? When do we think we'll make our decision, Agnar?
Stefan will chip in and he'll just say, I think realistically, probably within the next 3 drinks.
The best kind of decision made. Yeah.
Excellent. He
Whether
nods.
that's in-game or out of game, by the way.
Yeah, bet both. About the same amount of time.
Excellent, he says. In that case, I guess it's my round.
Excellent.
Instead of getting up and walking to the bar, he sort of taps his communicator, and the barman trots in a few seconds later and looks at the group and nods to everyone and sort of counts up the heads and just gives a thumbs up and scuttles out to get the round in.
Can Stefan just catch him before he goes and just says, one for the lady on the table just by the door, please.
Sure.
And looks at Seba as if to say, you know what's going on here.
Seven nods and grins and he says, yeah, it's fine. I'm not paying for it.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Well then, I guess we see the night away in the bar. Is that the plan?
Fair enough. And by the end of the evening, have you decided, first of all, you are planning to go to Geeka?
This is where we need to send secret texts, and I can't because my phone's on something else. Quick, hand signals. Close your eyes.
Semaphore!
Close your eyes, Ben. I was going to do it behind the screen. Are we happy? Yeah.
Yeah,
We are.
I think so.
He can
I
have.
mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of options there, aren't there, on Geeka?
I
From
think
what I
so.
can tell.
Yeah, there's a lot. And we did promise that, and we were going to get all that scanning, and there was going to be options for things, and there was money, and there was. It's much more. It's much more lawful.
They made.
Much more lawful place, isn't it? Though we've got to behave ourselves a bit better, theoretically.
Geeka doesn't appear to be so riven with crime, no.
Well, not yet.
Not yeah, exactly.
To be fair, that may be because you guys aren't there, so.
It's true. We're the good guys here.
Sure.
We're the protagonists. However
I mean, you
antagonistic we can
understand,
be.
you are literally muggers.
Not all of us.
One of us is. The rest of them just associate with muggers.
Only one person has that in their job description. Yes, we're happy to take you for free. We'll give you a room. It'll be a nice room. We'll make sure it's nice and comfy. We'll make sure you've got all the stuff you might need to be relaxed. You can bring your gear. We'll make sure there's menus for you to spend the day. And then for a few hours each evening, you can come and join us if you wish at the bar, and we can relax of an evening.
That seems perfectly reasonable to me. Thank you.
Not a problem.
I'll need to spend a little bit of time making sure that all my loose ends are tied up here, but that shouldn't be difficult.
Well, we've got
If I don't see you before, I'll see you at the downport on your up route.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The before the evening's out, in that case, how long is it to Geeka?
The distance is 2 parsecs,
Okay.
I think. So it'll be a 1-week jump for you.
1 week. Can before we leave, can Agnar go to the person at the bar and inquire into getting 2 kegs of the local ale that they brew here sent up to the ship, and how much it will be?
Sure. He listens for a few moments as you explain this, and he says, yeah, no problem at all. Couple of kegs. Be about 2,000.
He'll say, do you mean 1 for friends of Seva? Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right.
And he'll do that. He'll give them all the relevant information. He'll mark off the associated credits, and just so we've got something for him to drink while he's that he likes while he's aboard, should he choose.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So Sever disappears off to go about his business, and the rest of you are now effectively finishing off your evening in this bar, and then presumably you will take a night's sleep back at the hotel, will you?
I think so. It's quite late by now, isn't it? And we're all relatively drunk. There's nothing good we can gain from things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. So you have a night's rest. You briefly check in with Sammy and make sure she's healing okay, which she is. She's looking up for being fit and well for your departure. You find yourself meandering down for breakfast, all assembling, quite relaxed. It's like not a care in the world. And while you're mooching about, minding your own business, somebody comes in and glances around looking for you, clearly looking for you. I mean, they're not hiding the fact that they're looking for someone, and when they see you, they stride straight over. This is a young, fairly attractive, but very busy looking, very functional sort of woman. She strides across as if she's got no free time in the world, and she needs to get everything done quickly and dealt with immediately. She stands at the end of your table, and she says, "You're the crew of the Baltic Star, yes?"
Stefano will just say, "Well, that all depends on who's asking."
The governor's office.
Governor.
I
forgot.
he kind of shrinks back into his chair a little bit.
I forgot about him.
At the mention of any kind of authority, and goes, "Yeah, that's us."
Okay. The governor would very much like to have a meeting with you this afternoon, if you can spare the time.
God. Wow.
I mean, we have got a lot of preparations to make for our next jump. We are quite busy. A long meeting, or we don't mind. We need to plan our day.
I doubt it will take very long. Less than an hour, I'm sure.
Okay. He'll look around the table and he'll just sort of see if everyone gives him a little acknowledgement. And if everyone's happy, he'll say, "Well, yeah, but we can arrange that, certainly."
Highlight of my visit. It's what I came for.
We'll see you just after lunch then.
Okie dokie. Cool, fantastic.
She turns on her heel and strides out.
And on that bombshell, I'm going to stride out from this room and take a wee. I'm guessing.
Yes, this is a good break moment, actually.
That time already.
It's that time already. Let me put up our new break sign. There we go. It's there. So thank you, everyone. If you are around, we will be back in between 5 and 10 minutes. So have a break, do whatever you need to do, and we will see you then.
Charging my glass.
Welcome back to you who are still here. It caught me in like some freeze frame back, like some kind of terrifying creature. And welcome to the second half. As is tradition for the second half, we toast a dead member of the party. His remains are mush on the Baltic Star after he tried to do all kinds of scientific experiments to keep his body in one piece and have him buried in the bar or with his toe dangling out so we could dip our drinks in. You know, really respectful things like that. In the end, we painted a picture. He was a barman taken from us far too young. He is the late, great Greyhill Best. To Greyhill Best.
Greyhill Best.
Greyhill Best.
Ah, a beautiful thing.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys have a morning if you have anything else you want to do, or we can skip straight through to after lunch.
My two are good. Yeah, there's nothing that they've got lined up they need to do.
Nope, I think all my boxes are ticked. All the trading stuff is done. All the buying stuff is done. Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay. So you're heading off to the governor's suite, his offices.
To Papa Krebs's crib.
To the crib of Papa Krebs, yes. Yes, you just wanted to make me say that because I've had some wine, didn't you?
That's going in the official notes. To the crib of Papa Krebs's crib.
To his pizzeria.
To his pizzeria.
Yeah.
Okay. You make your way onto, and I think this is actually the first time you've been aboard, the old warship Fredericksburg herself.
It is. We've seen the signs, but we've never gone this way.
No.
No.
The Fredericksburg, by comparison to all of the other ships you've seen, first of all, she was a very large military warship in service. So that's a slightly different kind of sensation in terms of the mass, the armor, the sheer scale of the vessel. But also, in comparison to pretty much everything else you've seen, this is a much more well-appointed space. It is not crammed with people in every corner. There are big open spaces and some quite elegant fixtures and fittings. After it was landed, obviously people set about making this into a kind of civic centre and a place that would be the centre of operations for the city on the planet's surface. Nonetheless, all of her key systems and everything of that nature have been stripped out. They have all gone completely and have been replaced with everything from offices and accommodation units to public spaces, sports facilities, you know, that sort of thing. So following the signs which lead you pretty much down the middle of the ship, you find your way to a large facility built in what was the former spinal mount bay for the ship. The spinal mount was decommissioned and removed before the ship was landed, and the space was, well, immense. Thousands and thousands of tons of hardware was ripped out, leaving this sort of long rectangular space running down the middle of the ship. And it is in that space that you find the executive suite. It is quite different to other places you've seen. For one thing, when the spinal mount was ripped out of the top of the ship, the hole they made in order to remove it was replaced with glazing. So as you walk through, you can actually look up straight at space above.
Ooh, very nice.
It gives a feeling of openness and elbow room that you simply haven't had anywhere else on the surface of Ossin, and quite different also to the interior of the Baltic Star or anywhere else you've been recently. apart from your brief trips into the sort of hard vacuum outside the city or in orbit. It makes quite an impression when you first arrive. And you make your way down the center of it, where there are some quite nice sort of decorative and ornamental pools filled with water. And about halfway down, off to one side, there is a space reserved for the governor's office. And you make your way down that far, about halfway down on the right, go through some quite smart looking double doors into an anteroom, and then into the office itself, where the governor is sitting behind a large desk, quite an impressively large desk, actually. Again, deliberately designed to make it look as if it's the desk of an important and powerful individual. And he stands up as you enter. You are shown in by the same woman who came to see you in the hotel, and he sort of waves a little bit of an acknowledgement to her, and then waves her away and walks around his desk to come over and shake your hands.
Pleasure to meet you, Kara says. We've heard your name everywhere. It's nice to finally come to see you in such beautiful surroundings.
Oh, thank you, and you. Yes, I was hoping we'd get a chance to chat.
We've heard you're a very important man, and thank you for offering us the time that you've been able to offer us to see us.
Well, it's nothing, of course. I like, when possible, to have the opportunity to meet our more distinguished guests. I'm sorry it took me so long to get around to you, but as you say, busy.
And with a view like that, Kara will point out towards the thing, I'm surprised you get any work done at all.
It is rather beautiful, don't you think?
It's the best thing I've seen in weeks, months, maybe even years.
Well, thank you. People often underestimate how beautiful Ossin can be.
It's definitely got its own Ossin charm that you probably wouldn't find in many other places.
That's absolutely true. I keep telling people that. People seem to find it hard to believe me, though. I don't know why. I think it's probably the vast amount of floating refuse in space around the planet. But from down here, it's almost like having rings around the world, isn't it?
It's exactly what I said to someone else yesterday, but they refused to accept it. Yes, just like rings. Yeah, you've added to the planet rather than taken away.
Well, I like to think we've both. We're very proud of the city of Fredericksburg as well.
It's a grand place. We've enjoyed many of the different experiences in different parts of the town, and
I understand I have you and your fellows to thank for resolving the problem at the mine.
Oh, that was a morning's work. We're glad that we could help.
Yes. That was very good news.
Now, so I'd like to think you just invited us to celebrate our achievements upon this planet, and for us to chat about the beautiful planet you're on. But is there anything you would like to talk about with us for the next however many minutes?
Agnar chips in at that point and just says, and to meet his distinguished visitors.
Yes, as you say, to business. I understand that you might choose to become regular visitors to our world. That you might be interested in establishing trading contracts. You might be interested in moving goods on and off. And I can obviously extend my good offices to make sure that you get preferential prices and things of that nature when needed. Um, I have certain specific requirements of my own. I sometimes need personnel, executives, messages transported to and from, and I'm always looking forward to regular visitors, people I can rely upon to periodically come and deliver and collect as needed. So hopefully you will consider setting up a regular supply route to this world.
Kara, who made that deal for 20 tons of uncommon ore with precious metals, I believe. I'm reading the Baltic Star manifest. I'm so professional tonight. I'm not drunk. I'm reading manifest. It's amazing. She says, your sources are correct. We've started what we hope is the first in many trading projects, I guess, with you. I'm sure you know what we've gone for. I'm sure you saw what was going to the ship, and you'll know that a fair price was paid to move on at a fair price elsewhere. And if you could offer us a fair price and maybe some storage warehouses or something closer to the ship that we can sort of keep things in, drop things off, put things in, we would be more than happy to look at, finding out what it is you need, hunting down what it is you need, and, coming past here as and when, it's possible to provide you with what's needed.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it, really? If you wanted a more permanent presence here, for example, if you wanted your own facilities, if it would be handy for you to have your own secure storage area for supplies, perhaps employ a local factotum who could handle trading deals for you in such a way that you could simply come and load up materials that had already been set aside for you. Possibly arrange for the more rapid exchange of fuel so you could shorten the amount of time it would take you to make each run. And all those kinds of things are achievable.
So I did that all face inside, not to show off what I thought of that. Sorry. Oh, he's got us wrapped around his finger now. Oh. Yeah. It would be something that I'd say would benefit all of us. I'm sure you would agree. But we understand that these things don't come freely. You're clearly a man of business, and we try to be too. We understand that you get that in any business, one hand gives and one hand takes, and that's how business works.
Well put. Yes. So, the mine. It has come to my attention that the mine is not being operated in the same way it was just a few short months ago. You see, we had an arrangement with a corporation. And that corporation was very, very good for business. Only now, it turns out that that corporation has apparently decided that the mine is unprofitable. They just walked away completely. Now, perhaps this is not something you consider to be all that important, but to us, it was a very important contact. Now, the mine is still operating, as I'm sure you know, but it's now under different management. That management is less beneficial to Ossin.
Who, and I hope you don't spit this with too much venom, but who currently is managing the mines as it stands?
A local union has taken ownership of it on behalf of the people of Ossin. I don't know if you've heard of them. They call themselves the Riftsmen's Guild.
We've heard their name bandied around.
Yes, it doesn't surprise me that despite your short time here, you would have encountered them.
Who was it that ran it in sunnier days?
A large corporation with a large number of similar facilities or mining operations dotted around the sector, and I think beyond, a subsidiary of a corporation called Neocaster.
How are you spelling that?
Neo
Yeah.
CAS
Yeah.
TOR.
TOR. It's clearly enough of a difference to you to bring it up at all to some outsiders.
Well, I'm not convinced you are completely unfamiliar with the way that this could be resolved, personally speaking.
Stefan says, I imagine an ideal resolution would be some kind of natural freak phenomenon that would inhibit the way that the mine works, to carry on going until they found it not as profitable as they thought and stepped aside for somebody else to take over? Or am I well off the mark there?
Well, let's just say that it is important to the guild that they are seen to be so influential and so powerful on Ossin that they could simply take over a mine that was barely making a profit and run it at enormous efficiency. And that was something that was irritating to me because I had a good arrangement with Neocaster, but it was even more irritating to me because the problems Neocaster was facing were largely, shall we say, labor problems? Labor problems that, of course, magically disappeared once the mine was in the hands of the guild. But a bigger issue is that while the guild likes to bill itself as having taken this from the nerveless fingers of Neocaster, it is my belief, a belief that I suspect you would find it easy to concur, that the guild is in fact paying Neocaster an enormous amount of money to buy their absence from Ossin, just so that the guild can trumpet how efficient everything is under its enlightened leadership. It was a problem for me. In fact, it was a problem so profoundly irritating that I took measures. Risky measures, to be sure, but measures that might make the mine so hard to run that the guild might have to back out and change their minds. But at the same time that you threw a bit of a spanner in the works of the payments made by the guild to Neocasta, you also kind of solved their production problems at the mine.
It's our going
As
rates.
as you say in life, you give with one hand and take with the other.
Exactly. It's our motto. I think it's painted on the side of our ship. Well, both sides.
One on each side.
Yeah, give with one, take with the other. While this is doing it, can Kara run a check? She'll drop back a bit. Can she, during this conversation, she would have been she's the one of my two that would have led the conversations, being the talkier one of my two.
Yes.
But can she drop back while he starts, I guess, walking around with his hands behind his back and, staring up and talking like that? Can she check to double check if there's any information on numbers of how many are part of the official group on the planet? Because we know the Riftman's Guild's got a certain number, but literally thousands in their books, for doing their dirty work if it's needed, because it's the working man's union. They can gather what they need. But do we know what sort of number are kind of, I guess, loyal to Krebs, if that makes sense? He's a puppet. We were told he was a puppet a few weeks ago, but what's the loyalty numbers and things like that? Is that something I can find out?
People would naturally conceal that, so it would need to be a serious investigation. You can set your agent on it, but if you do, you'll have to break the agent check on your naval officer. Oh,
Yoy. What's more important? We found out a bit about her. I wonder if we can get more on her from Sever on the ship. We've got a bit of time, I guess. We've got a week on the ship to get that running.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, we'll break it and we'll. I'll set it running for this. We can have this conversation and go away, and yeah, that's fine. I'd like to look up about the political system here.
All right. The things that I can tell you that pop up immediately give you an estimate that the population of Ossin, and therefore almost entirely within the city of Fredericksburg, is rather over 1 million people.
Okay.
On paper, those 1 million people, of course, are all under the jurisdiction of the governor. But as you've seen for yourself, large numbers of them would probably be more loyal to the guild than to the governor. It appears that the governor, certainly the way it was pitched to you by several people you've spoken to, is that the governor actually has very few loyal people. But it may be that he has more than you know. If so, they may be quite low profile, possibly because they're tired of being beaten to death with sticks by the guild. I don't know. But you can certainly set your agent on it and see what it can dig up.
Please, let's find out what we can guild. Let's find out what we can dig up. Do I need to roll anything to set up parameters and that, or can I just do that?
Yes, you do. And it's an intellect computing check.
I've been keeping them sweaty.
Keeping them sweaty.
Keeping them sweaty. It's the best way to roll the dice is sweaty dice. Let's find out. Come on. With a +3. The sweatiness has worked. Best roll of the night. 11 + 3. 14.
Okay. Yes. You are running your check as we speak.
Thank you very much. Cool. To find out about Papa.
Is it just us and him in the room?
Yes.
Okay. I don't suppose we can tell if anyone else is listening.
You can run various, you can check to see if you can spot anything, but I mean, can't make any guarantees.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fine. I mean, I guess the only person with a laptop or the skills for laptop is running something else anyway, which seems more important. So that is fine.
Okay.
I thought I'd ask anyway.
No, it's a fair question. I mean, there's nothing obvious. Based on how these things often work, it's not unreasonable to assume that his assistant may be listening in anyway, in case he needs something and raises his voice.
Mm. That's true. Okay, cool.
Cara will say, as we're talking business and we're talking in such a friendly manner, and you know a lot about us, which we've not hidden from you at all. You spoke about Neocaster. Are they are they still local? Have they been? We're trying to work out the situation you find yourself in. Are you still able to make contact with them, or have they been pushed out of the system, off planet, or?
Oh, I can reach them easily. They have operations and offices all over the place. Sadly, none on Ossin anymore. It appears to be a condition of the deal that they struck with the guild that they move all of their personnel off-world. But it wouldn't take very long to get in contact with them.
And why did you end up with Ossin? Is that just with Neocast? Was that just the way it was? Were they the ones that came and offered you their support, I guess, or?
I wasn't here when they arrived. I'm a relatively new governor. I've only been in post for a couple of years. The mine is much older, and Neocaster was operating it when I arrived.
Okay. How long have you been in power here?
About 2 years.
2 years. Have you noticed many changes over the 2 years you've been here? Have you presided over many changes on Ossin?
Well, 1 or 2. Yes. My predecessor, well, he tragically had a failure in a vehicle while out on the surface of the world, and died in office, which is obviously tragic. Especially since, as far as I've been able to ascertain, nobody had any idea why he was out there anyway. Seems bizarre, but there you go. However, at that time, there was a lot of unrest. He was having a certain amount of difficulty with the guild, and the guild was having problems with him. I'm sure you understand what I mean.
We do. There's many ways for difficulties to end.
Agnar will just turn to him and say, aren't you worried that if you were to have similar difficulties with the guild, for some reason we were able to get you the outcome that you wanted in this situation, that you might end up in the middle of nowhere in a similar situation?
Well, your concern is certainly appreciated. I wouldn't want you to think I was not grateful for it. But there are those who in this chair would seek to cause trouble. And there are those who, like me, are perfectly happy to enjoy the lovely view, take home my very generous salary, and not really cause any problems that would get in the way of a long, harmonious life followed by a wealthy and luxurious retirement.
Are there any photos of family or kids or anything that we can see?
It's fairly familiar, so just do an intellect check.
9 plus 2 is 11.
Okay. The answer very much appears to be no. There is art and photography and things like that in the office, but it, for the most part, seems to be a set of like official portraits of the landscape of Ossin, the wilderness outside the domes, and a couple of nice images of the suite that you're currently in. You know, the pools and the glass roof and the and something of the city of Fredericksburg taken from orbit.
Tourist stuff.
The kind of stuff that if you were building, say, a visitor's brochure for Ossin, those are the kind of images that would appear in it. They don't necessarily represent Ossin as she is, but as she would like to be perceived.
Do people still wear wedding rings or have physical representation? I know not everyone does, but is there still physical representation of marriage?
It's not uncommon.
Is that physical representation visible in him when he's walking around, you know, doing this, doing that, whatever?
Yeah, roll an intellect check for that and other personal characteristics.
Oh, that's worse. That's a 5 plus 2 is 7.
Okay. That's enough for you to gather just a couple of things. You don't notice anything that would imply he's married, or in any kind of long-term relationship necessarily. But there is something. Who's doing this check? Is this Kara?
That would be Kara, yeah.
What was Kara's background? Remind me, her service.
She was in arts, so she went to art college. Then she got quite famous in arts at a planetary level. Then she went and got called up to join to do propaganda photography with the army, which is where she met Agnar. But
Yeah.
she hated the fact that it became clearly a propaganda work, and so burnt all that and scarpered to become a drifter, I think, to get away from all the problems she left behind, I think.
All right. Roll an education with her best arts as well.
Oh, now we're talking. That's visual media. That's 7 plus 2 plus 2 is 11.
Ooh.
11. Okay. There is something you can't put your finger on that is nagging you about him. Something that sort of at the back of your mind, something is screaming at you, something about this man, but you can't work out what it is. But it's something to do with your prior experience.
Are you a fan of the arts, Governor?
Very, very much. It's not something I get to enjoy much out here, of course, but yes. Why?
I'm an artist myself. I studied at I should give the name of the college, which is not to hand. For 4 years, I worked for many years in arts, it's particularly visual media, and I could just tell when we came in the way everything was presented, and it just struck me that you have an eye for those finer things. I guess I've just been looking around at the way things are arranged. I guess
That's very nice of you to say.
Can Stefan chip in and just say you should see some of her work on our ship? I mean, I'm not an artsy type, but it's quite spectacular.
But I know what I like.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, yes, maybe I will have the opportunity at some point. Probably not this trip, but at some time in the future, I'd love to visit your ship.
Carl will say, I look around the room though, and it's quite it feels like there's still things here that were probably left over from the person before you, maybe the person before, maybe the person before. Maybe quite officious works amongst this as well, as opposed to personal pieces, things that ring true to you. That seems relatively sparse. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, probably. I'm not given to sentimentality.
Do you have family or anyone that you care for at all? Someone that sparks a sentimentality, or
Not currently. But, I mean, if you're interested in having dinner, we can see where it goes.
Carl say, I've got we've got a couple more nights here, and one of my artistic styles is quite quick working. I can put together a portrait in a few hours. We're not talking, grandiose. We're not talking the watercolors of 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and so on. But we're talking about something that might look quite good within that space. Now you have to understand me. I'm talking from merely an artistic angle as opposed to anything else. But it would be for me, it'd be a nice sign of a nice point in our ongoing discussions that maybe you could sit for me for a few hours and I can put something together for you. And maybe you could display it here if you like it, or hide it away forever if you don't.
Well, that's a very nice offer. I'll tell you what. I doubt I can find time in the next few days. But if you could let me know roughly when you're expected back, I can probably scare up a few hours one afternoon if I've been given a few days notice. Yes, probably.
Splendid. Have you got have you got a way I can contact you? Is there a direct, or would you rather we went through the office?
Oh, yes. The office, I think, would make the most sense. You can speak to Sil.
How
She'll
am I spelling Sil so I can enter it on my data?
SIL.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm.
Is that the lady that came and picked us up earlier?
Yes, yes. My associate. She came with me. She's been my assistant since long before I was here. She's a very important part of what we do here.
She's a very pretty lady.
You're not the first to mention that.
Where were you two before?
Oh, wow. I had a middle rank government position on Delabru, in fact. I don't know if you know it. It's kind of the sector capital.
Some moamps there, I believe. Some fine moamps.
I never saw one, but yes, so I heard.
Yeah. You always wanted to hunt for moamps, didn't you, Agner?
I did indeed. I think, in fact, we bought some eggs with us on the ship. Never hunted, but have scavenged some eggs in our time. If you're ever interested, once, obviously, in due course, once they've hatched, perhaps.
For some reason, I feel that unleashing them in the corridors of Fredericksburg might be seen as provocative.
Well, perhaps when you're on the ship. if nature has blessed us with They're hatching.
Excellent. That sounds lovely. Thank you. I would like to see a Moan. I am a bit of a fan of the large animal species.
And of course, the younger ones are much safer to be around. You understand? For
Is
your
that
sake.
true? I hadn't heard that.
Have you ever been to Geeka at all and been to the wildlife park there and seen the large creatures over there?
I have. Yes, it has been my pleasure. In fact, before I came here, I had a number of trips to Geeka to familiarize myself with the local dignitaries in interstellar corporate trade and things of that nature. And yes, I had a number of trips to Earth Park. It was magical.
It's been suggested that we should visit there, have a look around. So you'd recommend it as a visiting place?
Not everybody gets the chance to go to Geeka, but those that do and choose not to go to Earth Park, that surely is a mark of poor education or possibly insanity.
Is there anything
There are people who cross sectors to see it.
Is there anything we should take in at Earth Park while we're there? What was the highlight?
You're going to think I'm silly because people talk about the animals, of course, and they are magnificent. But to simply walk across the surface of an unspoilt planet with rivers and air, it's not perfect air. You need a nose filter, but it's still good air. You can smell things that aren't recycled. And you can hear things when they hit the ground. So for the animals, it was the glyptodons. They were, wonderful.
Agnar makes a little note in his personal device.
Carl says so. You've made it clear. Thank you so much for your time, by the way, and thank you so much for sharing your heart and your artistic soul with us. And we can see why you've presided over a peaceful 2 years, and thank you for that. And the reason you called us in for originally, I know there were many reasons, just to see us, meet us, and so on. The problems you have. Is there anything more that you want to add, I guess, to what you said to us with regards of solutions?
There is one thing in particular, a tiny, irrelevant piece of information that you can provide, and nobody else who could would be willing, but it would mean a lot to me. If I were to pose you a hypothetical question, could you give me a hypothetical answer?
Hypothetically.
Well said. Hypothetically, if the guild was paying Neocaster an amount of money once a month, how much money would that be?
How much were Neocasta making from the... And your business dealings are your own, of course. But hypothetically, how much was the mine system worth to Neocasta when it went directly through you?
Well, as I understand it, there was a time when Neocasta was making anywhere between 1 and 3 gigacredits a year.
Wow. So 1 gig credit a year.
However, the mine had encountered staffing troubles, difficulties with sickness, people coming in late, maintenance problems, the inability to hit the minimum safety numbers for shift work. It's difficult with a mine. You in order to operate it, you have to say have at least 8 people on a crew. So you employ 10 for each shift. And you think, okay, that's going to be fine. But suddenly, for some reason, it's always 7 that show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always the way.
So I think their numbers slipped well below a gigacredit each year. And as I say, hypothetically, how much do you think Neocasta would be being paid every month?
What's out of character? Gigacredits 1,000, yeah?
A gigacredit is 1 billion credits.
Oh, sorry, 1 billion credits. Oh my goodness.
So 1,000. Are we talking? What? Well, hold on. 1,000 mega credits.
Yes, 1,000 mega credits.
So just less than 10 gigacredits. About 8 million a month. Then about.
And when it was operating, what he's suggesting is that it was bringing in anywhere between, say, 90 and 400 or 500 mega credits every month.
Okay, 400 or 500 mega credits. Well, there's 2 ways, I guess, in business. One is that you overpay, you pay more for the right to be left alone and the right to be protected, or you underpay because you've got the upper hand, you've got what they need. So I would suggest whatever they were making when they were on the planet, and add or take away a few million mega credits a month either way. You're the mathematician.
Yes, but I mean, hypothetically speaking, what would that number be?
God, it's too late for my maths, man. It's nearly midnight. Hang on. A month. So it's about... Hang on. So it's 1 million divided by 10. Goodness.
If one were, for example, to know the exact amount to the credit that the guild was paying Neocasta every month in private transactions, what would that monthly number be?
I know what he's trying to get at. It's just, I'm not stupid. I'm very aware of what he's trying to get at.
What's a reasonable?
That's a reasonable. Well,
yes answer, I suppose.
If even on their weakest time with you, it was 83 million credits a month. And if it's gone down since then, we could consider that halved, maybe, perhaps, if things were on bad times, which would be just over 40 million credits a month. Therefore, hypothetically, you would probably be looking at somewhere between 40 and 50 million credits a month. Hypothetically, if my maths is not wrong, because it is.
Stefan will chip in and say, well, I mean, they could always be turning a profit from this.
Oh, they could.
In which case, they could always offer them, 100 mega credits and still be quite happy that they have the business rather than somebody else.
If they weren't having all those problems.
I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to gauge, obviously.
Hypothetical is very limited in that regard.
Perhaps it would help you if I made it just slightly less hypothetical.
Well, in that case.
Yeah, let's live in the unhypothetical realm.
Okay. He raises his voice and he says, Lynn, send him in. And a couple of seconds later, the door opens and Sever walks into the room, closes the doors behind him and says, I sort of hoped it wouldn't come to this. And that's where we're going to call it for tonight.
Ben. I'm stopping the streaming now because I'm so angry.